Okay, here's example 2. Again, we are looking at our compounds and trying to decide what major species would be present when dissolved in water. So, what we need to check is if we have ionic compounds or if we have molecular compounds. So, potassium hydroxide. When I look here at the chemical formula, I see that potassium is a metal. And then I should recognize OH as hydroxide. So I have a cation and an anion. That is an example of an ionic compound. So we need to treat it as such. When ionic compounds dissolve, all ionic compounds are strong electrolytes. None are non-electrolytes. So when ionic compounds dissolve, what do strong electrolytes do when they dissolve? They dissociate, they break apart. So potassium hydroxide, what will it break apart into? Well, I have potassium metal ions, so we'll break apart into potassium metal ions that are hydrated by water molecules, and it will break apart into hydroxide anions that are hydrated by water molecules. Okay, so we'll break apart into potassium cation and hydroxide anion. So if I'm going to answer this one, it would be K plus aqueous to show that it is dissolved. We have hydroxide with anions, and we also want to indicate the charge. And then we have water molecules there as the solvent. Zinc bromide. Again, we have an ionic compound. So it will do the same thing. The chemical formula for zinc bromide is ZnBr2. One formula unit of this, when it breaks apart into zinc metal ions. And I get, for every one of these that breaks apart, I actually get 2 bromide ions. Okay, so the major species present, it's not asking how many I get, it's just asking what is there in solution. Well, I have zinc metal ions. I also have bromide ions, and then again, water. Okay, so notice we have to be able to predict the charges of these from the chemical formula, which is an old skill, something we've worked on before. Potassium carbonate. Okay, I have this chemical formula, and I can predict that the charge of potassium would be +1. I recognize carbonate as a polyatomic ion, and I immediately know that it has a charge of -2. One formula unit of this breaks down into 2 potassium ions and 1 carbonate ion. But they're not asking for how many, they just want to know which species are present. So potassium metal ions are present, carbonate ions are present, and again, water as the solvent. So in this case, we had all ionic compounds, no molecular compounds.